and welcome. We are so happy that you could join us today for week 3 of Sensory Fitness Live. My name is Valerie, and this is Hannah. We are occupational therapy interns from Mount Mary University here at HIR Wellness. You may not know what occupational therapy is and how sensory fitness can go hand in hand with that. Well, OTs are mentors of hope, dignity, and function who help individuals reach their highest potential through methods as dynamic as each individual. OTs are enablers of independence and facilitators of passion to support long-term and meaningful goals of each individual.
These episodes of Sensory Fitness Live will help you to address difficulties with homework and sitting still while in virtual learning. COVID has caused some major COVID has caused some major disruptions in everyone's life, including the children and their parents. School is happening very differently, and we may have to think and plan harder to have a flow, and sometimes I'm sure there's opportunities for meltdowns or feeling out of sorts. Meltdowns and tantrums are not misbehavior. They are an outward expression of a child's inner distress. So we do have to look at our children and think about what they've lost with this pandemic and steering clear from setting that bar way too high. On a more positive note, though, the pandemic has allowed for more time to get to know our children in a new light. And so we have to try to set them up to be the most functional in their routines. Therefore, sensory fitness will help them to manage when they are feeling out of sorts by helping us to stay regulated and to focus, have the alertness and the connection to be in the just right, ready to respond place.
Thank you, Hannah. So last week, relatives, we learned about our hearing, smelling, seeing, and taste sensory systems. Within each of these, we demonstrated just a few strategies to help you learn how to meet your child's needs, unique sensory needs. To recap the different sensory options for these senses, we mentioned providing headphones to help your child counteract these irritating sounds and to help calm her system. We also discussed creating a space for a child that contains more natural lighting or to dim the light in a room, as this tends to be more calming for your child. We then spoke about using a polar fleece or a cotton pad and dabbing it with an essential oil so that your child can feel and smell their calming or alerting scent that helps ground them. And you can actually even use natural, like oranges, as a scent if you don't have an essential oil, which we didn't mention last week, but I wanted to throw that out there. We also brought up how your child's jaw may need that extra work hard feeling to feel better. So dosing in something like crunchy items like veggies, chips, crackers, or even chewing on resistive foods like gum and non-food things like latex-free tubing can create that sense of calm. Hannah, what was your experience like?
So to meet my unique sensory needs, I was experiencing some headaches this week, and
Okay.
so I tried to keep my environment more dim and more natural lighting, and kind of refrained from keeping the lights on because they were just too bright for my sensory system.
Okay.
And then I also have some lavender at home, and just
Nice.
smelling that and actually putting some in my coffee too. It really helps me to get through the week.
Oh, awesome. That's great to hear.
What about you?
Thank you, Hannah. So for me, I was just feeling very overwhelmed this past week with a lot of things going on, and so I went to the essential oils and I ended up putting in my diffuser some bergamot, and that really helped, like, made me feel calm and relaxed. And so I did it a couple times last week just because it was really helpful.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. How did this go for you, relatives? Were you able to try out any of the options? Leave us a comment down below We'd be happy to learn about your experience. So we also learned how to be a detective.
We did.
We mentioned how you'll have to examine different behaviors that your child may be expressing. In organizing these different behaviors, we thought of them as gears in an engine. The engine is a symbol of our body, whereas the gears are a symbol of all of our sensations. And so this will lead us into what we're going to talk to you about today. So, relatives, we do still have 4 more senses to talk about. Do you remember what they are? So they are touching, moving, which is known as our vestibular system, proprioception, which has to do with our muscles, tendons, and joints, and our interoception, which is our signals that are present with inside of our bodies. With 3 of these senses, we think of them as our internal or more non-visible senses because they're inside of our bodies, except for touch. But touch does work with the other senses. For example, our sense of muscles, tendons, and joints, so the proprioception, vestibular, and touch are known as our powerhouse senses. This means that input to all 3 of these it's so vital for our brain, and so this means that the input to all 3 of these systems is so vital for our brain function because they help to build our body. And so they have profound effects on our big movements, our small movements, our social skills, learning complex skills, and even our arousal levels. So in order to better understand ourselves, it's important to learn about the different systems. We have solutions for each of these senses to help meet your unique sensory needs, which can help you to be in the just right gear. But we'll get into the sensory systems in just a little bit. So Val, do you mind refreshing our relatives on our speedometer and all of our gears?
Of course, I would love to. Here's a visual of our speedometer. Okay. So an engine that's running in a high gear may look like you're overwhelmed or frustrated, have tense posture, your child may be cranky, fidgeting, they may be angry, overly excited, or even fearful. If their engine is running too low, it may look like they're sad or discouraged. They might even have a slouchy posture, be sleepy, or have a lack of interest in activities. A just right gear is when we feel happy and balanced. Our children switch into these different gears throughout the day. And we as parents move through these different gears too. But we do activities without really thinking about it to get us back to that just right gear. Keep in mind that we travel through these different gears all day long, and that's okay. Sometimes we tend to stay in one of these gears for most of the day, and that's okay too. We want to provide strategies for when the gear you're in is not supporting with the task at hand. Relatives, Hannah will now go over PACE with us to get us ready to learn the topics of the day.
Thanks, Val.
You're welcome.
So now we're going to do PACE. And PACE, if you remember, it's a simple regulation strategy and it uses movements to wake up our brain and bring us into that just right gear. And this will help us to feel in a better regulated state. So PACE is just a quick and easy way to get us back to the just right gear when we feel like the current gear that we're in is not supportive of the task or the activity at hand. So I invite you to grab some water. This will increase our electricity in the body. And now from a seated position or standing, you will go down and touch your toes. And come back up. And then just take note of how that felt for you, and we'll revisit it in just a little bit. So first, we're going to place one hand on our heart and the other on our belly button and close our eyes. All right. And now we'll take our left hand to our right knee, our right hand to our left knee, and just alternate. Right. And then we'll cross at our ankles. Reach out in front of you, the backs of your hands together, reach over and pull it into your body and just breathe. And then uncross your arms and your legs. And now bring your fingertips together. And now reach down and touch your toes. Good. How are you feeling, relatives? Val, how are you feeling?
Feeling more calm, more relaxed. I have a little bit of a headache, and I feel like it feels a little bit better now that I did PACE and feel ready to learn what we're going to learn today.
That's awesome. In just a short amount of time, we've actually caused the brain to be in a better regulated state. And this means more opportunities for learning. So what a perfect time to get into our topics for today.
Yes, thank you, Hannah. So now we're going to go through some different scenarios and solutions to discover your child's sensory needs. You might have noticed in your child with their sensory system, and this could be pre-COVID or post-COVID related. This is to give you those tools to be a detector for your child. Now, relatives, let's take a walk through some of the more specialized internal senses, such as, like Hannah mentioned earlier, touch, interoception, vestibular, and proprioception.
Great. So the first sense that we're going to talk to you about is touch, also known as our tactile system. Does your child have difficulties keeping his or her hands to themselves? Do they seem that they touch everything and anything? Or is it just the opposite? Do they withdraw maybe from certain textures? The following scenario will depict Val's unique sensory system of touch. And so we're just going to get set up for that, relatives. So relatives, what you see here is that Val is working on an art project and she has to use glue, but she's becoming distressed because she does not like the way the glue feels. The stickiness is really bothering her. And so she may want to try using some tape instead. And so with just this small example, you have to be detective and respect your child's responses to different types of touch. So in this case, to honor Val's sensory system, we gave her the tape instead. And another solution that you may consider trying is that when your child says no, that hurts, or maybe pulls away from a certain touch, just acknowledging that and what they're feeling is it is real and that is their sensory system. This may inspire you to experiment with different types of materials too, and different clothing that are calming and soothing. A favorite solution may be to play the sandwich game. So I'm going to have Val help me out with this. Would you mind showing me your hand? And just sandwiching, because this deep pressure is calming. Or you may even try laying on a bunch of pillows too, with them on top of your body, if you need that calming sensation too. Another way you can do that is instead of pillows, you can use a blanket and wrap yourself up into a burrito or a hot dog style. And this may help you to tolerate the feelings a little bit more.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So now, relatives, the second sense that we're going to be speaking about is our interoception system. Now, I know a lot of people probably haven't heard of this, and it's our hidden sense. So it's often known as a hidden sense, and it's referred to the eighth sensory system. What it is, it's the sense that recognizes the needs within our body. Does your child have difficulty organizing information from the senses? Does your child have trouble knowing when they're hungry, thirsty, full, hot, or cold? Now, the following scenario depicts a child's sensory need for interoception. So now, you see here, Hannah's playing a puzzle. Hannah, dinner's ready. Would you like to come eat? Have something to drink?
No, Val, I'm really not hungry. I don't feel hungry.
You sure you haven't ate all day?
Yeah, I'm just not hungry. I'm just gonna continue playing with my puzzle.
Okay. So let's pause here, relatives. We have to be a detective here, and you see that your child may not eat as often as others because they may not feel hunger or even that thirst. Interoception helps you understand that feeling, what's going on inside your body. Which in Hannah's case, she was under responsive to the interoceptive inputs. This is why she didn't feel hunger pain when she was playing her game. And usually they don't feel that pain until it hits a really intense level. So there are a couple solutions for this. One of them is to implement a sensory diet. And a sensory diet has nothing to do with food. It's actually a carefully designed series of physical activities and accommodations tailored to each child's individual sensory input that he or she might need. So it's different for everyone. You could also do some heavy work activities to help recognize your child's internal body signals. Heavy work activities helps build that sensory processing issues so they can feel more centered. Also, having a very scheduled routine day is important as well for your child and providing them that opportunity that they need in regards to probably a meal. So, for example, try prepping your child by saying, I can't wait to eat. How about you? But not making it a big deal. And have that food available whether they're hungry or not. So, Dr. Kelly Mahler is an occupational therapist who actually specializes in interoception. It has a lot of YouTube videos, relatives, that I feel you guys might like that talk about interoception if you are wondering what and want to learn more about it. If you'd like to learn more about this, we're actually going to drop the link down below. That way you guys can access it. But I am going to talk about it a little bit. If you want to show yours, Hannah. Thank you. So you can see here, interoception, she defines it as a sense that allows us to notice internal body signals like a growling stomach, racing heart, tense muscles, or a full bladder. Our brain uses these signals as clues to our emotions and help us to be aware of when we are hungry, sleepy, need the bathroom, excited, upset, and etc. So then, yes, basically encourage your child to notice their own personal body signals. How does this make your hands feel? How does this make your stomach feel? So yes, for more information, her website is also on here. We can link it down below as well, www.kelly-mahler.com.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Val.
You're welcome.
It's really helpful,
Thanks.
especially since it's a sense that's hidden and we don't see it, but it is so important.
It really is.
So our next sense that we're going to talk to you about is the sense that allows our body to stretch our muscles, bend, pull ourselves, and even straighten our bodies too. So does your child have difficulty sitting still? Are they maybe slumped over in a seat, maybe tripping over uneven surfaces, maybe have trouble navigating those surfaces? Do they wiggle or jump or maybe even crash into surfaces a lot? Well, this next skit will show Val's unique sensory needs of muscles, tendons, and joints known as our proprioception. So we're just going to watch Val here. So relatives, as you can see, or as you just saw, Val was in her chair and she had a very hard time sitting still, and she was squirming and just constantly readjusting herself and trying to get comfortable. So a solution that we have is providing her with some heavy work. I'm going to grab that heavy work for you. So because Val was having a hard time sitting still, I'm offering her some heavy work, which this is just a heavier pillow. Otherwise, you can try carrying around a laundry basket at home, maybe even putting some heavier items on top of a shelf, or maybe even taking something down and bringing it across your body. But of course, be safe. But having this proprioceptive input is allowing her to feel more calm. And so maybe perhaps then she'll be more comfortable in her chair and she won't be so squirmy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for that. Our last sense that we're going to present for you today is the vestibular system, also known as our moving system. Does your child have problems with poor balance leading to falls, especially during high-level activities as hopping or skipping? Do they have an inability to sustain listening without moving or rocking? So our last scenario will depict that your child's sensory need a vestibular system. Okay? I'm just going to get situated, relatives. Oh. Oh no. Well, let's take a pause here, relatives. Being a detective, he's seeing right that Hannah was falling while she was hopping around, right? So in this case, using moving activities, we can help her with her balance by using some moving activities for her to help with her balance, coordination, attention, alertness, and making transitions to help change for her so it can help her engage with her vestibular system. So we can have a couple options for solutions for this. That way, maybe next time, if like for in case Hannah's case here, where she's hopping around, skipping, she won't fall as often. We can have her participate, or your child participate, in movement experiences such as jumping rope, climbing, jumping on a trampoline, swinging games that allow her head to move in different ways will support that development of the vestibular system. You can also be creative, relatives, and turn your child's favorite music and dance together, whether it's just freestyling it or choreographed. The way your child body needs to move with her head and body is enriching for that vestibular system. Anytime your child spins, rocks, or even swings, it's adding more vestibular input to his or her body.
So relatives, those were the remaining 4 senses. We hope that this helps. We are looking forward to hearing about your experiences. And in order to figure out which strategies work best for you and your child, you will have to be a sensory detective to find that out. It will take some trial and error, but when something is working, you'll be able to see what strategies were most helpful by the way your child responds to the task at hand. Many factors may be influencing the changes in your child's sensory needs from day to day, from activity to activity, even from minute to minute. Therefore, you have to utilize your sensory tools that are safe and effective for your child and his or her needs. Individual sensory needs are not to be judged as good or bad or right or wrong. They just are. And so we have to teach others to understand that an individual's sensory preferences are to be honored. Like you saw in the last scenarios this week and last week's. If you do have any more questions about the sensory systems or anything, please feel free to reach out to us. If you'd like more information or a Zoom appointment, please feel free to call our main number line at 414-763-5815.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Yes. So relatives, we also know that times are tough, and but the different gears we are experiencing, remember, they're normal, and sometimes it might be hard to manage them, right? So here at HIR Wellness, we always are here to offer a helping hand when things seem tough or rough. You can always send us an email for more for more information, and you can also call for support by calling our Cares Warm line. We offer social and emotional support. Our number for our Cares line is 414-748-2592. And we're going to be dropping it in the comment box below as well. Someone will be in contact with you within 24 hours or less. Thank you, relatives, so much for joining us today for week 3 of Sensory Fitness Live. We hope that you enjoyed your time with us, and just as much as we enjoyed spending today with you. We can't wait to see you next week, Wednesday at 3 p.m. for our next Sensory Live. Please feel free to contact us with any information or questions you might have. We would love to respond. Thank you and have a great rest of your night, relatives.
Thank you. Bye.